so let's continue with the details. So we're going to do these curvy lines first. We're going to raise them from the back. And we're going to work on our lino, not on our felt. And the reason why I want to do them now is because now I still have a little bit of a flat surface that lies on the lino. If I first raise this edge here, I won't be able to do this from the back on the lino, and I want to do it on the lino because I want to use this tip and I want it to be a nice little raised line. So from the back on my lino, working on the back of my pewter, I'm using the sharp pointed Teflon tip. I am simply going to draw in the curve line, and I'm using a medium pressure, and I start every curve inside the previous curves line. Okay, now we can turn our pewter face up again, and we can work on our hard surface. So what we want to do now is we want to flatten the area around. So I'm going to use my paper stump and just flatten, not on top of the line, just around the line. There we go. So it's not totally flat, just slightly flattened around the line. Then I'm going to take that same Teflon tool and I am going to trace the line on either side of the raised line. So that's going to give me a nice little raised line. And then once I'm done, I turn my pewter upside down again, but this time I'm going to work on the tile. So what I want to do is I want to use that same sharp point, and I'm just going to trace it once, retrace the line on the inside just to smooth out any bumps that was created. And I'm using a medium pressure, and then once done we can turn our pewter face up again, and then we just need to tidy up again the surrounding area. So I'm now flattening again around, and this time I'm going to go with the Teflon tool and tidy up. So with a flat Teflon tip, now we can tidy up the line edges. And now I'm using the Teflon tool at a bit of an angle so that I can get into all of these shapes. Okay, so now we can continue again. So we can do this area. So for the lines that sits in between, I want to use my Teflon tip again to create those lines from the front on my lino. So these are just detail lines that I want to sit on top of this raised area. So the same as that we did these detail lines here, we're just going to work from the front and we're just going to draw them in. So I'm using a medium pressure, not a hard pressure. I don't want to destroy the shape totally. Okay, and now I can do that line and then also that line. Okay, so now from the front of my pewter stool, using my metal ball tool on my lino, I can draw in that line and also the second line. So I'm not doing the edges. The edges we will do once we do the overall shape. Okay, that's it. And then we can flatten. So I remove my lino sheet and we flatten on the hard surface on the front. So now you need to use your Teflon, your paper stump at a bit of an angle, just to get into that space. And I'm just flattening on the side here a little bit. And then I need to define and clean up before I can continue. And then define with the metal ball tool. There we go. Okay, so that's that one done. So before I continue with these ones, I want to do this pattern in the same way as we did the curvy design. So working on the back of my pewter again, turn it over on my lino sheet. I'm going to quickly do that pattern on the back. So let me just see if I can still see the pattern. No, so I can't see my pattern again anymore from the back. So I'm just very slightly from the front, just gonna retrace very, very softly, just so that I can see the pattern from the back. So this is a very soft motion. And then obviously we have these dots. Okay, so from the back of my pewter, turn it over again. Okay, so now I can see my pattern better. So I'm going to draw in with a medium pressure that pattern from the back on my lino using my sharp pointed Teflon tip. Okay, and then turn it back over so that we're going to work from the front again, and we're going to do the outlines again on the hard surface. So first I'm going to just slightly flatten not too much. And then we're going to retrace the outlines of our design. So slightly on either side. And then again we will turn our pewter upside down, and then on the hard surface from the back of the pewter, trace it one more time just to flatten out any pieces that might have bumped or flattened in the previous step. And then back to the front. We need to flatten this time around with the Teflon flat tip. Okay. So now again we flatten in between and right up against the raised line from the front of my pewter on my hard surface. Okay, and then these little dots we can do also. So for that we're going to use the ball and cup tool again. So turning my pewter upside down again, and I don't want them to be too high, so I'm going to do them straight on the lino. So working from the back of my pewter on my lino, I'm going to do those little dots. So doing it on the lino slightly gives me a bit of support that it doesn't go too high. I don't want it to be too deep. And then back to the front of my pewter, removing my lino so that I can put the cup over each of these dots. And then we need to just define again. Make sure it's nice and flat around. Okay. So before we continue, we can now also already do these row of dots, and I'm going to do them again on the lino. I need a bit of support because I don't want them to go too high. So again on my lino, and then working from the back. And be careful when picking it up that you don't lose the shape of your body of the bumblebee. Okay, so now I've got to do these little circles from the back on my lino, same as on the felt, small circular motions. Now don't press too hard because otherwise you're going to create a hole. And then turn the pewter back over to the front. Remove my lino, and then we can add the little cups over. There we go. So now we can start raising the rest of the design. So working on the front of my pewter, I can add my lino sheet back and we can start raising these lines. So working from the front, using my metal ball tool, just drawing the outline. And then I can immediately do the second line. And we can do these ones as well. And then this line that goes straight up against that design with the triangles. And then we have the little curvy pattern. And the two lines. And then we have these lines that we're going to do from the front with this sharp Teflon tip. And I'm using the sharp Teflon tip because it's got a finer point which will give me better control over my lines. And then we can do the overall shape. Try and do that in one go. So this will lift up this whole central part. We will add some height from the back as well, a bit later on. Okay, and now we can flatten. So back onto our tile, working from the front of my pewter, I can flatten towards my design. Okay, and then we can raise this from the back a little bit. We won't do the final height just yet. We're only going to raise it a little bit, and then we need to do all of the little legs, and then we'll give it one final round of lifting up. So carefully turning my pewter upside down on top of my 4 layers of felt. So this is a nice big piece, and I would like to keep all of this shape. So I'm going to use my hand and I'm going to lift up that piece and trying to keep the shapes that's on the inside as much as possible. And I'm going to concentrate on the center a bit more because I want this to have a curvy shape at the top. So right at the end we will add some detail lines in here, but we're going to leave that for right at the end. For now, that is enough. So turning our pewter up, face up again, and then we need to flatten on our tile. So that has got a nice curvy shape. So back onto my layers of felt, and then I'm going to turn my pewter upside down. What I want to do is I want to raise this shape a little bit here. So I'm just using my fingers. I'm not going to use the ball tool or the paper stump. And then I'm just going to redefine the line here with the Teflon tool. So that creates that little detail ridge, same as we did in here and the same as we did here. So that should lift up that little area. And then back, yes. So that lifted up that area very nicely. Now I need to flatten the legs. Okay, that's it for the bumblebee's little butt.